Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894. I'm Hugh and I've got Joe here with me for a slightly different video. We do our reviews and our previews, but we've just got news of a slightly, possibly big transfer down the line for City. So let's get right into our thoughts. Okay, so we have just got the news via Twitter that Harry Kane has formally told Tottenham he wants to leave. Myself, and it was actually Joe, believe it or not, it wasn't Dara, did kind of attack and transfer video just a couple of months ago. Maybe it was in February, who we'd like to see play for City and in the attacking positions. And Harry Kane was right up there in our list. I think we had Messi and Haaland as well in there, but Harry Kane was definitely one of the major ones. And now he's actually told Tottenham he wants to leave. And there's so many reports about where the destination is for him, where he'll end up next season. We know he wants to stay in the Premier League. He's chasing Alan Shearer's record. I think he's 28 in July, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of a case for him now that if he wants to win trophies, and it seems to be that he wants to do it in England, he's going to have to sort of move now to get some of his prime years or all his prime years in England and winning trophies. Joe, what do you make of all this? You remember the video we did together? We spoke about the pros and cons of signing Harry Kane and other attacking players, and now it seems that bit more realistic.
Yeah, I think one of the only major cons of not signing him was the fact that he was one of the older ones. I mean, like you said, he's 28, so it's not like he's early on in his career like a Haaland, but he still has 5+ years. He's arguably in his prime. He's one of the best forwards in Europe, in the world. His goals and assists in the Premier League speak for himself, and a lot of that was when Mourinho was at Spurs, and we know he's notoriously a defensive-minded coach. So I think if you had 30, maybe even 35 goals to this City team, I don't know. I mean, it sounds too early to say it, but I don't know how we can be stopped because we know our weak point is goals in the front line. We know we get a lot from midfield at the moment, but it's not having a recognised number 9 that has kind of stopped us from being even better. And with this whole false 9, he can do a similar role because he does like to drop deep. So I think it's a perfect fit. I mean, the only stumbling block is Daniel Levy. We know he's going to try and rinse that deal for every penny he can get, but Tottenham do want the cash.
Daniel Levy is a very, very tricky operator. We know from recent years when they have had top class players, like one for example was Modric. Chelsea were absolutely banging down Tottenham's door to get their hands on Modric. I think it was around 2014, sometime at that. I don't know my year, and Levy was like, "Nah, we're simply just not selling to another Premier League club." So like, just because Kane has now formally said he wants to leave Tottenham, it doesn't mean he's going. I mean, Levy is going to make it as difficult as possible. I'll just read out the tweet here, which kind of gives us a bit more perspective. City Extra reported on it. They got it via Sky Sports. Man City have been in touch with Harry Kane's representatives, expressing a desire to sign the Tottenham striker. Kane wants to have his future resolved before the summer's European Championships in June. So Kane clearly wants to have his future decided quick. He wants to go to the European Championships knowing where he's going next summer, and it clearly doesn't want to be Tottenham. So I think the asking price, I think you might have mentioned there, we kind of know Levy is going to look for at the bare minimum 100 million. And now we know City aren't a club that has ever spent that kind of money. I know we have spent money, like a lot of 50 million, 60 million kind of type players, but this would be City's first ever, say, massive Galactico signing. And we don't know if it's actually going to happen, but we've never been in a position where we've had to, because obviously the most expensive players in the world are generally strikers and wingers. And we've always had, Aguero, Silva, and Foden, Sterling, Mahrez, these kind of players. And now we're in a position where we do need to fill the boots of Aguero. Like, we do need a striker. Yes, we've just won the league without an out-and-out striker, and that is unheard of realistically. But I think Joe touched on it as well. You bring in Harry Kane, that's 30, 35 goals a season. I find it very difficult to see anybody, probably being a bit arrogant here, but I find it difficult to see anybody really challenging us for the league if we're going to add that amount of goals we already score. What do you make of that kind of news there, Joe, that he wants to get his future wrapped up before the Euros, which are in June, a matter of weeks?
That is, we always knew that it was going to be, his future was going to be decided around the Euros. We always thought that it was going to be after the Euros, that he wanted to, focus on the football for the time being, and then as soon as that ends, then solve his future. But I think now with obviously the loss in the Carabao Cup final, which was to us, he saw us absolutely dominate that game, and we've wrapped up the Premier League. They're not getting top 4, it looks like, as well. I don't know whether they're mathematically out, but they're pretty much out. So
Yeah.
I think he's come to a point where he doesn't want to play in the Europa League. We know that he's far too good for that competition. He's a Champions League player, and it's not just his goals, it's his assists. He's getting loads of assists now. I think he might be top for both in the Premier League this season, which is absolutely incredible. You wouldn't imagine a striker having all these assists. But I mean, the only difficulty, as I said is that stumbling block of Daniel Levy. And it's also not like us to go and splash out more than 60, 70 million on one player. We normally, distribute it over a couple of players. Like our most expensive players are like your De Bruyne, your Mahrez, your Rodri, who are like just over 60, closing in on 70 with your bonuses. So I don't know. But with him saying he wants to leave, that is obviously a massive step.
In terms of competition for signing Harry Kane, we know there are 3 English clubs looking for him. I'm almost certain Real Madrid and Barcelona made it fairly clear in recent weeks, before obviously tonight's announcement from Kane that he wants to leave, that I don't think Madrid and Barca are in the race, but it's looking like our competition is within England, and it's Manchester United and Chelsea seem to be the 2 suitors looking for him. But I also read reports in recent weeks that United aren't willing to spend more than 90 million on Harry Kane, and it wouldn't make a lot of sense either when they do have players like Rashford. I know he's not a net striker. They've just got Cavani on a new contract. They have Mason Greenwood, who's an upcoming prospect. So I don't know, would he even want to go somewhere like that where there is competition? I can't imagine 200k a week. Cavani's going to be happy to sit in the bench behind Harry Kane. I mean, I'm sure he views himself as a top striker because he probably is. But Chelsea, I think Tuchel would love to get his hands on Harry Kane. I think he feels Werner probably isn't delivering the goals because he's not. If you watch Chelsea every week, he misses chance after chance. And could you imagine, similar to City, the amount of goals he'd clean up for Chelsea and how it would boost them up the table? He'd add 20 points a season onto Chelsea. So I think Chelsea will be thereabouts. But I think City, you can probably jump in on this in a second, Joe, is probably the most obvious option for Kane. There is a complete void to be filled there. It's the Aguero's gone now. We're almost certainly, I think he's agreed a deal with Barca in principle to move there after he spends time with Argentina. Has just been called up there for the World Cup qualifiers. So for Harry Kane to come to City, he's literally coming in as the man. There's no other striker. Obviously, Jesus will continue whatever role he plays. I think he seems to be fine playing on the bench most of the time. He'll probably come on as a false 9, but it gives us that option to change our formation. What are your thoughts on the competition? Because other clubs, I know we are probably the favourite to get him, Joe, but let's be real about it. There will be plenty of people looking to get his signature.
Yeah. If we win the Champions League, I think it's a no-brainer for Harry Kane because we'll have completed yet another treble, won loads of trophies, semi-final of the one that we didn't win as well. So we got quite far in the FA Cup, albeit we didn't win it. So I think it's a no-brainer. We are the most prepared for winning trophies because it's just, and the manager as well. Liverpool isn't being mentioned as a club being interested. They'll probably be sniffing around, but whether they can afford it, maybe not. So you look at the managers. Tuchel is the only one that I could say could rival Pep, but even then it's a stretch because Pep has all these years and years of winning titles everywhere he goes. I mean, Solskjaer hasn't won anything yet. It's still an ongoing project. So with the fact that he is 28 in the summer, although you'd still like to think that he's the type of player who can play into his 30s because he's not pace reliant. He's, more about just his general ability and, he's improved a lot as a footballer. So you'd like to think that if he wants to win here and now, because let's face it, he hasn't won anything at Spurs. If he wants to try and get the trophies to, back up how good his career was, then we are the most prepped to do so. I think we're probably the ones that can also afford it if we wanted to. We also know that Abramovich does have the money. Whether the Glazers are willing to spend that much money, we know that they're quite like that. We saw with Sancho last year, they didn't want to pay the money. It'll probably be a similar price, if not more, for Harry Kane. So I do think we are favourites in terms of, squad, areas that we need to improve, plus the money that we can, put to the table.
I think if Chelsea did want to get Kane, they'd have to let go of Giroud or Abraham or both to make room for Kane. I don't think he wants to come in and be one of 5 strikers at the club. Like they spent a lot of money on Werner last summer. I can't imagine he's going to go anywhere just yet. But as we're recording this video, I'm just reading updates on Twitter. When you get news that Harry Kane wants to leave his club, Twitter naturally blows up. And I just read that he's changed agent. He got a new agent 2 months ago. And that kind of leads me to believe that he really does want to leave. And he has done for quite some time because maybe his old agent wasn't doing it for him. But I have a hunch on the whole situation. And I think there could be a bit of coincidence around it, or maybe it's just not coincidence. Straight up obvious what's going to happen. But when the news came out there about half an hour ago that Kane does want to leave Tottenham, and I think he's told Levy or he's told whoever in Tottenham that he wants to leave, the first report that came out, not just from City aggregators, but from like multiple journalists, was that City have been in touch with his representatives. I have a feeling Kane's a smart man. He doesn't want to cause controversy where unnecessary. He doesn't want to, create all this media trouble and start a public fight with Tottenham if he wasn't certain of a club ready to come in and try and get him. So I feel he went to Tottenham and formally said, I want to leave, because he knows City, or he's already been in contact enough with City to feel confident that City will come in and buy him. That's just my hunch. I don't think he would say to Tottenham, I want to leave, if he didn't have a destination already planned or go, because then you're kind of out in the open. You've started beef with your club and you don't have anywhere ready to go. I think he's a smart man that realizes he has somewhere to go, and City have made it clear, we're going to pay the money for you. So my opinions are, Joe, that we're going to get him. I think we will get him, and I think we will know literally maybe the week after the Champions League final whether it's happening or not, because he's determined to get it done by June. And you said yourself, the only hurdle is Daniel Levy. So what are your thoughts? I mean, we'll wrap it up in a few just after that, but what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a dream signing. We all know we need a striker. It's going to be one of him or Haaland. I can't see anyone else. There's names of like Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez, and I think Lautaro Martinez is going to sign a new contract. I think he said already that he's going to sign a new one. Obviously, people are undivided about Lukaku. We want a proven goal scorer, not a young player like a Patson Daka or a Nunes. We want someone who we know will come in and guarantee us goals. And why not Harry Kane? He's Premier League proven. So that's one thing he has over Haaland. He has the experience, England captain. So, I mean, I truly believe that if any club is going to sign him, it will probably be us. And like you said, why would he go out of his way to say he wants to leave if he doesn't have any idea if anybody can afford him or wants him? He loves Tottenham, albeit he was an Arsenal fan. He's been at Tottenham for a long time. He wouldn't just turn around on his club if he didn't know there was solid interest.
I think obviously the debate for a few months now has been Haaland or Kane, Haaland or Kane. I think we'd all take either. Realistically, we sound like spoiled brats if we're saying, no, we don't want Harry Kane, we want Haaland. I mean, for God's sake, Harry Kane is the best goal scorer in the English Premier League for multiple years now. And if he comes to City and adds his presence and his goal scoring ability to our team that's currently in a Champions League final and just fairly easily won the English Premier League, it will be City dominance for quite a long time. And yes, Haaland is a great upcoming prospect, but Mino Raiola is making it very, very difficult for clubs to want to negotiate a deal there because they're just looking for so much money. I think Kane will be a more straightforward transfer. You get 4 or 5 good years out of Kane, and by that stage Haaland will be 25. Maybe you could look at that option then. But I think either or would be fantastic, but right now it looks very like Harry Kane it's within the question. He's within touch and distance. I think if City apply the pressure now and take the right steps, negotiate a decent deal with Levy, give Kane a decent wage packet, it'll probably be similar, maybe even more. It'll be interesting to find out than what De Bruyne is on. So I think there's a lot to unravel in this story, but we wanted to just make this video because we want you to give your thoughts down in the comments. It's always great to hear what you guys think. Would you take Kane? How much would you do you think Tottenham will look for him? How much will his wages be? He will be the biggest signing in Manchester City history in terms of name. It's a Galactico signing. So let us know your thoughts down below. I think we'll wrap it up there. When we do get some more news, we'll probably make another video and keep talking about it because it's a really exciting story to sign someone of that stature. So leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new. We're so close now to 250. We'd love to hit that in the next month or so. That'd be massively appreciated. So yes, leave a like if you enjoyed, and we will see you very soon. Peace.